Well, welcome everyone. We want to welcome you to this Friday afternoon podcast. My name is Ann Sontag, and I'm a Senior Presidential Director with Lifeway. And today it will be myself and Dr. Stan from South Carolina. Before we continue, I'd like to invite David to please go ahead and share our disclaimer.
Sure, thank you, Ann. All Lifeway products are not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent any disease. If you're pregnant, nursing, on medication, or have any medical conditions, please consult with your physician first. All patching podcasts are for educational and informational purposes only. And now back to you, Ann. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So today we have two incredible stories for you today, and I'm so excited to get to interview both of them. So when you hear these stories, there's going to be some people that come across your mind that you could reach out to and help and share this message. So just jot their names down. So our first guest is going to be Susan Ball from North Carolina. She is 49 years young. Susan is the mom of 6 children. The younger 3 children were fostered and then adopted. She's married to a wonderful, supportive husband. And I got the privilege of meeting Susan last weekend in Phoenix, Arizona at a Health Freedom Conference. And when she told me her story, I said, please come on and share this story with our Lifeway family. So Susan, go ahead, unmute yourself. Tell us what's happened in your life before you were introduced to the patches, how you were introduced, and what's going on now.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay. Okay. Well, since I was a child, I have been dealing with chronic fatigue. Even when I was in kindergarten, no sleep was enough. I was commonly found, back in my day, we took naps on the floor during kindergarten, and the kids would be up off the floor. The teacher would have to come wake me up, and I would be, honestly, it was embarrassing to see the kids all awake and at their school desk and working. But, that was just the way I was. It was common for me to come home after school and have to take a nap as well. So nothing was ever quite enough for sleep. I had my first sleep study as a teen, and then 3 more in my 30s and 40s. Nothing was ever really figured out. They called it idiopathic hypersomnia because they didn't know why I slept so much, both during the day and the night. I did both sleep studies at daytime and nighttime studies. In my early 20s, I went to a Pearl Jam concert with my husband, and I fell asleep. And I remember my husband saying that he joked, he said, everybody around us was looking, going, I want whatever she's on. I wasn't on anything. I was just tired. So I started researching supplements and looking for answers through diet. I focused on whole food nutrition. I took some supplements that were whole food nutrition capsules since about 2010. I kept dietary sugar and carbs low. In 2014, I was diagnosed with a tick-borne illness that you get from a tiny little tick, and fatigue became even worse. I would have random fevers, body aches, arthritis in my hands. My knees were swollen, and that just, my chiropractor told me after hearing the symptoms that I should get tested, and I tested what's considered CDC positive for this tick disease. And 6 months into treatments with multiple antibiotics, we tried a lot of different ones. I developed full body tremors, and they used a PICC line to give me antibiotics where I had to take and inject myself daily. I think it was 3 times a day with various IV antibiotics. And that did help relieve me of the tremors, but I continued to still have other symptoms. And it was just constant nausea. After 3 years, I had been going to various doctors and not seeing much improvement. I quit all the medicines. I did some herbal tinctures for a while, and I prioritized exercising in the morning, mainly because that's when I had the most energy I was going to have through the day, and I wanted to see if that would help. And it did to a degree. It brought me back to what I would call a kind of a normal chronic fatigue state. And my days were spent just trying to do the everyday activities a mom typically does. Clients, I'm formerly a hairstylist, and I would schedule my clients around naps. I would always have to leave a time open in the afternoon for potential need for a nap, with high probability that that was going to be needed. Anyway, my aches and pains would come and go, joint flares would come and go. And then in 2018, I started having some sudden chronic head pains. And by the end of that year, I was at 25 a month, and my neurologist didn't know really what to do because she had tried everything to help me and nothing was really helping. I went super low carb, and that did help to bring them down to 2 to 5 a month, but they were still there. In 2021, when COVID hit, that was when I got COVID, the head pains returned. I had, again, random joint flares, swelling in my hands again, not as bad as it was originally, but it was still there. And then weakness that was in my muscles that wasn't necessarily that I wasn't strong. I could still lift the weights at the gym just as much, but I just had this overall like limp feeling. It was really hard to describe. Fatigue took on a whole new level in early of spring 2023 this year. And I became super strict trying to seek what else could help me to feel better. And the only thing I hadn't really ever focused on was keeping a super tight sleep schedule. And that's when I changed that and decided I was going to go to bed at a regular time. So most nights it was 9 o'clock and I was up at 6. It really didn't help. But I kept it anyway. I continued to search podcasts and listen to doctors looking for any answers. And I came across peptides. And I had been listening and searching doctors that I trusted. Did they agree that peptides were good? I knew nothing about peptides. Ended up saying, yes, they were good. I found 2 books on them and read all about peptides and was ready to start injections, which I was dreading. But I was ready to start taking injections, had signed up with a doctor locally. He was about an hour away, and had already had my lab work done when one morning while I was scanning Facebook, I ran across a message from a doctor of pharmacy. She's a PharmD. Her name's Dr. Cashel Southwick, and she was on a mutual friend's post. And she had linked something for her, and it just intrigued me. So I checked it out. I watched the video, and it was about your body's ability to restore itself using patches that reflect light. So I was curious. I watched all day long various things that I'd heard about it, researched the company, and I was willing to try because I didn't really want injections. So after patching, the first day, I didn't really feel anything that first day, but the next day I felt like this vague possibility that I was having more mental alertness and slight more energy. And I found that out because my biggest clue was I didn't feel like I had to fight sleeping in church. And just to say, Pastor Bud, that has nothing to do with reflecting on your sermons. It's all me. But it was wonderful to be able to just sit and not feel like I was fighting sleep. By day 3, I was feeling extremely blessed. My energy rose, and it felt like the Energizer bunny. It just skyrocketed. I got more done in 2 weeks than I had in 2 years as it continued. I've been able to add so much to my life, getting projects done, adding in things that I've wanted to do and just didn't have the energy to do because I had to prioritize the absolute necessary things in life. I feel like I've accomplished a lot because I can think clearly, and there's a calm in the chaos. My stressors haven't left me. These are just things that have improved. I didn't even know I was feeling like a mental fog, and how much stress was affecting me, just the everyday life. But those stressors haven't gone away. I've added more to it, but there's still just this calmness about me.
So Susan, how long have you been on the patches now?
So it's been 4 months now.
And then which patches are you using?
I use almost all of them. Ice Wave is about the only one I don't use unless I'm having the head pains again, and then I may put that on. But for the most part, I worked my way into using them all. I started with X39, glutathione, Eon, and the sleep patch, the Silent Nights.
Awesome. Wow. Sounds like you've got such like your life back. And we definitely want to have you back on in like 6 months, and just to see the progression of how well you're doing. And is there anything else that you want to tell us in the last like 30 seconds?
I would say my energy has stayed steady throughout the 4 months. I consider them my little miracle patches, and I never want to be without them. And I guess the only other thing is just that, like, I've gone from sleeping usually around 9 hours a night and needing naps to getting about 6 to 7 hours a night and no naps, and it's fabulous.
Wow.
I'm very grateful.
Well, I'm so happy for you, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And I can't wait to just kind of watch your progress. And it was really good to meet you too.
Thank you, and you as well.
So Deborah Larson is our next guest, and she lives in Texas. She has been a trauma nurse for over 24 years, working in critical care, organ donation, and other trauma-related fields. But through her own trauma, Deborah found the patches, and her story is going to really touch you. So Deborah, tell us what's going on with you. Tell us about, how long you've been patching, what was going on, before that life, and then what's happening now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. So as she shared, I've been doing critical care and trauma work for over 24 years. And my backstory is about 27 years ago, after the birth of my youngest son, I wanted to restore what breastfeeding took away. And so I had breast implant surgery. And 3 years after that time, I started to struggle with autoimmune disease and leaky gut before anybody knew what that was. I remember calling my endocrinologist going, I have leaky gut. And he's like, what is that? So it was interesting so many years ago. I always turn to natural remedies because I know that my body is created to restore itself. We are provided the building blocks. If we provide it with that, it can do that. And so for 25 years, I tried to manage my body's systems with supplementation, with good choices, health, exercise, all of that. But I feel like I fell short. Literally, I was the healthiest sick person I knew. Like, all I wanted to do was get well. And then in 2018, I experienced a personal trauma that took my health back about 10 years. So when my stress response in my body kind of went AWOL after I received the news that my firstborn son had died in the fire in Northern California, he was a fireman, it literally took me outside of my norm. Everything kind of went crazy because our body's there to address the trauma that hits, but when it's just audible news, there's nothing for it to fix, so it just brings toxicity, so it was worse. It took me 4 years to get back to what I call, this is a normal I can manage. But this time I decided I want my body to heal because I know that it can. So I took my breast implants out. I got my leaky gut under control, all kinds of diet restrictions. I'm literally almost a celiac. I began rebuilding my immune system, and that all started during COVID. So I continued to struggle, but I felt like it was making progress and it would go back. But the brain fog and the loss of memory and the trauma that happened to my brain through all of that, I lost comprehension, my focus, I couldn't stay on task. I was still running my trauma clinic, meeting with clients, and I just couldn't seem to get it together and stay organized. But in March of this year, I began another program with a holistic professional, and he focused on regenerating our bodies. And after completing his 5-month program, he confirmed my cells are 41 years young, but my brain results showed that I was 50% on my way to full-blown Alzheimer's. So wow, that took me away. Rejecting that diagnosis, I decided I was going to find a solution. And 3 months later, just like our other guest, I was surfing and I found Donna Reiner's and I found LifeWave. And I was so excited because I thought this just can't be true. But you know, when you're busy, you don't pick it up and look. But when I did, I dove into everything. And because of my medical background and my natural processes that I've chosen, it wasn't hard to see the light. The technology supported everything I practiced for years, and I believed it can happen. So I was more than hopeful, and I knew this would take me across the finish line. My body's own cells can regenerate and fully put all my systems and that health issue away. So here's my timeline. I've been on the patches 5.5 months. In the first 5 days, I used X39, Eon, and Silent Night, and all the saggy skin from the explant was no longer loose and crinkly. I was so elated. I didn't know collagen was a side effect. Everything has tightened up. 2 days later, protein floaters in my eyes were gone. I was listening to somebody else's podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right, I have those. And I recognized they were gone. Then within 2 weeks, my brain started resting and my deep sleep returned. That was amazing. That's when I added carnosine, the energy enhancers, and X49. And 1 week after that, I had the miracle. My brain fog began to clear. By week 6, my focus, my clarity had all returned. Short-term memory was restored. My recall, my retention, and the communication signals in my brain are all working again. Now I feel balanced. I feel like my body's producing the neurohormones that I need to function like they were 41 years old, like my other cells. But I have so much energy, I literally feel like a 30-year-old. I'm up at 4 a.m. and I get to bed about 10 p.m. And most of the time I'm working or doing something that I need to put my hand to do. So I'm back to working out with a trainer. I'm focused. I'm back on building businesses and sharing the story of how our bodies can regenerate. And actually in LifeWave, we can reverse the aging. And I am elated that I am on these patches.
Wow, that is just super, Deborah. I am so happy that the patches found you, and I'm sorry about your tragedy and your trauma in your own story. And I think with that diagnosis, I would have probably been looking for a solution too, after the doctor told me about that I would have Alzheimer's. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that you're recovering. But I would love to have you back on too in like 6 months, just to see how much more, because as both you girls are consistently using the patches, we've seen how the body can continually to repair and rebuild and go deeper and deeper. So we definitely want to have you both on, but thank you so much. So we're going to turn it over to Dr. Stan now. He's going to talk about the science and technology and the man behind all of this.
Yes, thanks. What wonderful testimonies today to what these miracle patches, as I like to call them, do for people. It's just totally life-changing. You know, this company will be in existence for 20 years next year. We are celebrating 2024, 20 years of health and wellness technology designed to help you to look good and feel good inside and out, but also to add years to your life, but also life to your years, because that's what we're looking for, is quality of life. And David Smith, our founder, our inventor, I'm gonna tell you what, this guy is one of the most amazing inventors of our day. We like to call him the modern day Tesla of the world. This man, you know, has a mechanical engineering background, biological degrees, and he is kind of blended these two technologies together. But it all got started when he was working with the United States Navy SEALs program. And while he was working with them about some motor technology, battery technology for the mini subs and different things. They were talking about how they needed to come up with an energy system for the Navy SEALs to keep them awake and alert. And the very first patching system was created, which we call today the Energy Enhancer. The Energy Enhancer is a 2-patching system, whereas most of our patching systems are just one, like our flagship product, the X39. But what he had discovered, looking under the microscope, was that he could reflect the body's infrared light energy back into the body, and what I like to say, recycle it, true renewable energy being entered into the body and is reflected by this patch that everyone talks about. It is just that. It looks like a Band-Aid. The Band-Aid, has a side that you just peel off the paper, and you have the sticky side, but on the inside of it is this round circle of organic substances that form a crystal lattice, which acts like a mirror. And this mirror lattice simply reflects that wonderful light energy back into your body to trigger certain biological functions depending on the frequency of the light. Just as the sun shines on your body and triggers vitamin D production, hormonal production, and many other certain biological things begin to be good for our body out in the sunlight, we are batteries ourselves. We contain the same energy within us. And what David discovered was that through using the patch, he could actually reflect some of that energy back into the body, the infrared light energy, to trigger functions in the body, to trigger things, like cellular regeneration, making the cells look younger, act younger, to start replicating and duplicating so that your body can rebuild itself naturally without drugs or herbs or things like that. What we love about the patches is that they are non-transdermal, so nothing goes into the body. There's no herbs, spices, or any substances that enter into the body. The only thing it is acting as is a mirror to reflect that light back into your body. You wear the patch 12 hours on, and you take it off, rest 12 hours, and then put it back on. The X39 is now the most popular patching system that we have, is because it is the one that tells the cells to wake up and start regenerating on the cellular level and begin to duplicate and remake your cells inside the body, which is so important, which is why we get to the root cause of everything, and that is getting to the cells and getting those cells functioning like they did 10, 15 years ago when you were a teenager. We know that by the time, we get to 30 or so, we're only making about half the cells that we normally do. By the time we're 60 to 70, we're at 0 to 30. Then by the time we hit that 70 mark, it's pretty much 0 of the cells replicating. So then what happens is we begin to age more rapidly, and most people unfortunately die between 70 and 80. But with this exciting technology, harnessing the power of your own light force energy, that infrared light, directing it back into the body to trigger just normal biological functions within the body, it makes your body to act younger. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about this technology: biomodulation, phototherapy. All you got to do is Google it, and you can find out more information about how this technology has been used really for thousands of years. But many medical doctors and practitioners now are using phototherapy in their practices to help people. So we have harnessed this on a whole nother level with photobiomodulation. We have made this technology available to everyone. It's affordable. It doesn't break the bank. It's not like expensive therapies that people go all over the world to seek to get their cells activated and going again. It's affordable. It's safe. and it will help to turn back the clock of time. It will actually help you to get your body to act younger and better and function better than it has in many, many years, which is why with the testimonies today, that's what's going on with this, is that we are getting your body to act younger. And this is so awesome. And somebody loved you enough to share this video with you today. Somebody cared enough for you to want to check this technology out. And I would love for you to get back with the person who sent you this video, shared this video with you, and find out more how you can get a hold of this life-changing technology and how you can develop your own story of maybe reversing your sicknesses and diseases naturally without drugs and things. Because again, we don't prescribe, diagnose, or treat anything with our patches. We're not claiming any medical claims. We're just telling you God gave us a body that will regenerate itself. And when we give it the tools it needs to succeed, it will indeed do that very thing. So get the patch on, develop your story, and then maybe you'll be one of the next people that come on this podcast and share how this technology has made your life better and made you healthier and just giving you a new leash on life. Thanks, guys, for tuning in and being a part. And we hope to see you again on one of these patching broadcasts.